Cafe Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Rioch, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Fishers, Indiana, David Toussaint, author of When Money Gets Personal, and also a book for young adults, Keep the Change. David taught finances God's way in North, Central, and South America. So, David, how to help younger persons find their career path?
Well, that's a great question because young persons do have a problem with that, and I had a problem with that myself. So I would say if I was a younger person and I was looking I would say, number one, it's important not only to examine ourselves, but along the way, obtain counsel. There's a scripture called Proverbs 12:15. It says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man is he who listens to counsel. And so we need to seek counsel from ones that know us and care about us, and give them and let them get some input. Not that we're going to take it from any one person. We need to seek that from a number of people. And so that would be one thing. Another thing I would do, I would pray seriously. I don't know if you have a relationship with a one true God up there, but if you do, then he can speak to you, and that would be another option. Another option would be to examine your passions. What do you dream of? What do you dream about at night? You know, what would be your very, very favorite thing to do? Are you good at it? Can you make money from it? And if that's the case, if you're good at it and if you love to do it, then ask God how you could make money at it. He put those dreams in your head. Ask him what he wants you to do with them. And another one would be, what problems do I love solving? Good question. What problems do I love solving? Some people can really figure certain things out, and other people think other things out, and nowhere in the middle sometimes.
Well, sometimes we think, people generally say, the younger people, they just create problems. They don't solve them. So how do you address that?
How do I address what? The what?
Yeah, so many people think that the younger persons, they create problems. They don't solve problems. Them.
Well, that is true. But how would a younger person desire? What problems would they like to solve? In other words, when they sleep at night, what problems would they like to solve in their head? What do you think they would be good at? And for example, I feel comfortable talking to people, coaching people about various different things. I feel like I can analyze a lot of things and solve them. So that's one of my gifts is to do that. So that would be what I would examine in their. So what passions, and then after they obtain counsel, then I would consider maybe some education in the situation. I mean, you would consider college if that was an option. Consider a trade if you grew up and your father was a plumber, and then you learned a lot about plumbing, then you would certainly consider that. I would consider assessment programs on the internet. For example. There's one that I have used. This is a free one, and it's called 16personalities.com.
16personalities.com.
Yes. And it's free, and I took it, and I felt like it nailed me. So if it nailed me, maybe it'll nail somebody else, right?
Now, some of your teaching, I mentioned that you taught finances God's way in North, Central, and South America. So you've been around. You've seen that the world is round. It's not all the same thing, right?
That's correct.
There are cultural differences. Are younger persons the same, or are they different from where you've been?
Younger people, I think, have less of a foundation than they did when you and I were growing up. They have less of a foundation. I mean, we had a foundation because our parents had a foundation, and so we grew up kind of with their foundation. But maybe ours is a little less, and then the kids are even less. And I would just say that there's less quality of the person in people's lives. I mean, that's just my experience.
But back to that point, in today's world, there seems to be more opportunities than there were when we were young. And our career paths when we were young were sort of, I don't want to say they were predefined, but there were just fewer of them. Today, like you mentioned, the internet's just a whole new ballgame.
Oh, huge, huge. I agree. I mean, I agree with that. There are a huge number of options available. But the question is which ones to take. And so you pursue that by the methods I just mentioned as to what way to choose and choose what one you. And then you would try something, and it doesn't have to be the final thing you choose,
Right.
but if you try something, and then if that works, then you do it. If not, then you work for a certain limited time there, and then you go on to something else. It's interesting that there's a scripture, and I return to scripture again, that I never even remotely considered this when I was a young person. But it says Psalm 75:6, and God says in that, it says, "For promotion and power come from nowhere else on earth but from God." Isn't that interesting? So he's in control, and that idea would have never entered my mind as a younger person. I just wouldn't. But if we buy into that, then we know that God for real runs the show.
Mm-hmm.
Then we know he's our true boss. He's who we work for. He's who we report to. He's who we're accountable to. So therefore, when your boss, your present boss on the job, and maybe he's not looking, or he's stepped away from the office, or he's out for the day, are you going to do your job?
Right. It always gets back to you, right? It's
that's
you.
Right. So if you have faith in the God, the one true God, and if you look to him for guidance, then he's going to say, okay, I'm your true boss, not the guy in the office next door. And so you need to work for me, not for him. And then do a good job for me. And then he will appreciate it.
Right. Very good. Well, David, I want to thank you for being here. How can our listeners find you?
I suggest they go to whenmoneygetspersonal.com.
And that's the name of your book. And where can they find the book?
The book is on Amazon.com. There's two books. There's When Money Gets Personal. That's an adult book. It's got over 70 stories, people in financial situations and how they should have worked them out, how they could have worked them out, et cetera. And then the second book, Keep the Change, also on Amazon.com. And it's a book that has over 20 stories to empower a young person to build a successful future in work, finance, and life.
Very good.
So ignite their potential. That's the idea. Ignite your potential.
Very good. Well, thanks again for being with us.
Thank you so much, my friend. Tom, thank you.
All right. And for our listeners, it's David Toussaint. It's David, the last name Tousssaint. Tousssaint. Again, he's the author of When Money Gets Personal. You'll find that on Amazon. You find it on the site whenmoneygetspersonal.com, as well as the book Keep the Change, which is also available on Amazon. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.